When you see a $29 flight to Orlando, your brain releases dopamine. You feel like you've hacked the system. You beat the corporate pricing algorithm, but that $29 ticket wasn't a discount. It was a loss leader designed to get you through the door so they could extract $147 in fees before you even board. Budget airlines aren't cheaper. They're just better at hiding the real price until you're already committed. This isn't competition. It's a psychological trap engineered by revenue managers who studied behavioral economics more closely than aerodynamics. And history shows exactly how this illusion was built, and why it costs you more than full-service carriers ever did. Let's start with what air travel actually cost before unbundling. Not the sticker price, the total value exchange. For decades, airlines operated on an all-inclusive model. Your ticket covered seat, bag, meal, change flexibility, and customer service. The price was higher up front, but predictable. Your brain evolved to evaluate purchases through total cost assessment, not fragmented line items. When you bought a $300 ticket in 1990, you knew exactly what you were getting. No surprises, no hidden traps, just transportation. This wasn't generosity. It was operational simplicity, and your nervous system trusted it because transparency reduced cognitive load. Then someone figured out how to exploit exactly that trust, that someone wasn't a rogue carrier. It was Southwest Airlines in the 1990s, followed by Ryanair and Spirit in the 2000s. They didn't invent low fares, they invented unbundling, taking one transparent price and slicing it into 17 separate charges. Base fare, seat selection, carry-on, checked bag, priority boarding, water, printing boarding pass, change fee, cancellation fee. Each fee seemed small, $15 here, $25 there. But together they added 68% to the base fare on average. A $49 ticket became $132. Yet passengers still perceived it as cheap because their brains anchored to the initial $49 number. This wasn't innovation. It was cognitive manipulation. And it worked brilliantly. Ancillary revenue grew from 5% of airline income in 2005 to 22% today. $103 billion annually. Extracted not from corporations, but from individual travelers who thought they were saving money. But the fee structure was only the surface. The deeper mechanism was temporal. Behavioral economists call this the sunk cost fallacy. Once you've paid the base fare, your brain treats additional fees as small additions rather than new purchases. You've already invested. Turning back feels like waste. So you pay $30 for a bag you could have checked for free elsewhere. You pay $20 to select a seat that would have been assigned randomly anyway. You pay $15 to print a boarding pass at the airport because you forgot to do it online. Each decision is rational in isolation. Collectively, they're catastrophic. Airlines know this. They design the purchase flow to maximize sunk cost commitment. Base fare first, fees later. Never show total cost up front. Because if you saw $132 instead of $49, you'd comparison shop. But by then, you're already psychologically owned. And the worst part is still coming. A group of transportation researchers wanted to quantify the true cost of budget flying. So they analyzed 50,000 itineraries across 12 carriers spanning 2018 to 2023. Same routes, same dates, same passenger profiles. But when they calculated total trip cost, including fees, baggage, seat selection, and time penalties, budget carriers were 22% more expensive than legacy carriers on average. Not cheaper, more expensive. The savings existed only in marketing materials. In reality, passengers paid more for less comfort, less flexibility, and more stress. Researchers also found that budget airline customers spent 3.2 times longer resolving issues when things went wrong. Missed connections, lost bags, denied boarding. Each problem required hours of phone calls, rebooking fees, and hotel costs. Legacy carriers absorbed these costs. Budget carriers passed them to you. The system that promises affordability also systematically transfers risk from corporation to consumer. This isn't irony, it's business model design. So what killed transparent pricing? The answer is simpler than you'd think. Deregulation. In 1978, the Airline Deregulation Act removed government control over fares and routes. Airlines could finally compete on price. But competing on price meant racing to the bottom. Margins collapsed. Carriers needed new revenue streams. Unbundling provided them. Suddenly, every aspect of travel became monetizable. Seats weren't transportation, they were real estate. Bags weren't luggage, they were cargo. Time wasn't scheduling, it was inventory. And then we conquered it. We flooded our world with comparison sites, deal alerts, mistake fares, and we thought that was empowerment. But here's what we lost. The certainty that a ticket meant transportation, that paying once meant arriving. That complexity served efficiency, not extraction. Modern travelers check flight prices an average of 38 times before booking. 38 times. Moments stolen from planning, anticipation, rest, all to navigate a pricing system that was never meant to be understood. Researchers have found that passengers who book all-inclusive fares report 45% lower pre-trip anxiety, regardless of total cost. That's all it takes for ancestral wisdom to reassert itself. We didn't just change how we buy tickets, we eliminated an entire layer of transactional sovereignty. That quiet confidence between payment and departure, the state that our ancestors described as was straightforward and fair doesn't exist anymore for most people. Instead, we have fee anxiety. And we treat it like smart shopping. But what if it's not smart at all? What if scrolling through 17 add-ons at midnight isn't your mind optimizing? What if it's your mind remembering what it was built to need? For 45 years, your ancestors spent their travel lives in a rhythm that modern revenue management is only beginning to understand. They paid once. They flew simply. They trusted that transparency meant fairness. They lived with pricing grace so complete that budget wasn't something you had to decode. It was something you could experience. And every time they boarded, they knew the price they paid was the price they owed. We traded all of that for a dynamic pricing algorithm. And most of us never even knew it was gone. You weren't failing at finding deals. You were succeeding at surviving a system designed to extract certainty from you. Now that you see the extraction, what will you protect? The answer changes everything we think we know about value, transparency, and what it means to travel in a world that was never promised to be honest in the first place.